Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew Davis, me, and once again, welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. This time is going to be on John Wick Chapter 4. That's right, the series hasn't gotten its conclusion yet, and I honestly don't care if it concludes anytime soon. But anyways, with this film, John Wick uncovers a new path to a high table, and from there, in order to obtain his freedom, he must fight pretty much everyone across the globe who wants him dead. From Paris to Tokyo to pretty much, he's basically traveling around the world at this point. And from there, he must fend off against waves of enemies. And of course, friends he's made along the way become enemies. And there are some enemies that, well, just going to shut my mouth because I cannot have spoilers, because you need to go into this movie knowing absolutely nothing. I mean, you know John Wick is going to be fighting because that's what he's best known for. Ever since the first movie, ever since he's lost his dog, his first dog. I mean, he had another dog, but of course from there, it's John Wick. Like, do I really need to explain more? But with each installment, it just has me like amazed at how far this franchise has come. And not a single bad movie in this franchise exists yet. And it's honestly something that I do worry about, because there's a part of me where I feel like that there might be that one film that will just completely ruin everything. But with this movie, that hasn't come. In fact, I feel like with this franchise, each installment just gets better and better than the last. And with this one, it's no exception, because, well, needless to say, this just made every other film in the franchise just blow right out of the water. This movie is pretty much everything that the first three movies were, and just expanded upon them, and not just due to the fact that it's the longest in the franchise. By each film, they just get longer and longer and longer. Like, the first movie was 1 hour and 41 minutes. This one is 2 hours and 49 minutes. And I actually read where there was the original cut was supposed to be 3 hours and 45 minutes. Just, I know I complain about lengths in movies a lot, but with this movie, I didn't feel like cutting out anything was necessary at all, because while John Wick is the star of the show, and you definitely root for him throughout the adventure that he has, there are actually some characters that I really enjoyed here. Bill Skarsgård is an excellent villain, and he's by far the best villain out of this entire franchise, and it has me feeling like as if he was supposed to be the main villain throughout this entire thing, and he really does steal a lot of the show. But there's also some other side characters that John Wick meets along the way that are also trying to kill him, like this one blind guy called Kane. Well, yeah, he may be blind, but he's really good at fighting. Like, he knows his enemy's most every move, because he has a lot of screen time and a lot of action to show off here. Lawrence Fishburne is also in the movie, and before I go any further, I should also make out that just before this movie was about to be released, and just when critics were starting to review the movie, Lance Reddick, who was in the previous movies and this one for a brief moment, has passed away. Rest in peace, though they don't really mention his passing during the credits, but I don't really blame the movie, because he died just as critics were starting to give their reviews of the movie. So that might change when the Blu-ray comes out, but either way. And I should also mention that there's this one guy who has a dog as an emotional support animal, and the fact that we have a guy with a dog, that just has me thinking okay, this is not a coincidence at all. Something is going to happen, because we know John Wick and his dog, we know that it's going to be kind of weird when he has screen time with him. And of course, the action. You cannot talk about John Wick without mentioning the action. Hoo boy. They just went all out here. There's guns, there's knives, there's cars, there's swords, there's freaking bows and arrows. They just throw it all, and John Wick's not even doing a lot of it. I mean, he does do most of it, but other characters manage to have really great style when it comes to the combat and the action. The way it's choreographed, like Chad Stahelski, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, Stahelski or something like that. He just went all out with the direction here, and it's brimming with style. This is a gorgeous movie. Like, there isn't a single shot that feels off. There isn't a single, like, visual effect that just feels like it's just unnecessary. The way the fight sequences are done, and when John Wick is just fighting with this in this water area, like with the rain falling down and a party going on, it's outstanding. It's brimming with style. Combine it with some of the best action sequences that the movie has to offer. There are some that last like 30 minutes. Like, there's an action sequence in the parking lot, one at a party, one in Tokyo, and one at a staircase. Some of these were seen in the trailer, so they last so long, and I did not want them ending anytime soon. This is a movie where I really didn't care about the length. It felt way shorter than crap like 65 or Morbius, because I was actually intrigued not just with the action, but with the characters and the storyline, because it started off as John Wick getting revenge because of the death of his puppy, but it's a lot more than that now, because the entire world is after him, because he's pretty much an unstoppable machine at this point. I mean, he's fallen from more than 4 feet more than 2 times and still managed to survive. He lost one of his fingers and he's still able to shoot guns. Like, it is insane. Like, they really went all out here, and there is honestly nothing that I feel like needs to be changed about the film. It gives me everything that I wanted from a John Wick movie, because the first 3 movies, they're fantastic. But honestly, there's not a single thing about this movie that I just feel was just completely off, because while the John Wick series definitely isn't perfect, I feel like it's near perfect when it comes to the first 3, but this one, it's just a film that I just don't feel like needs to be changed at all, because this is truly, if this is the conclusion, which they haven't mentioned that it's going to be the conclusion, though. I will recommend staying after the credits, because there is a credit scene towards the end. But in the end, guys, John Wick Chapter 4, it was worth the year wait, because it was originally supposed to come out last year, but the fact that we had to wait a year later, it just made it all the more worth it. It's got everything that you could have wanted if you just came for the action, but I really loved it for the characters and the storyline and just the style. It's everything I could have wanted. Just nearly 3 hours of kick-ass action during, some of the best song choices that they added to the franchise. When it comes to the action sequences, it's everything I could have wanted from an action film. And the fact that all of them are rated R, it's basically like the R-rated version of the James Bond series, though there's far more James Bond movies, obviously. But I just feel like, with this franchise, there is not a single thing that just feels completely off. At least with this one, because while the first, I did have a few problems with basically like one problem with each of the movies, I still consider them fantastic films, nonetheless. Well, you pretty much get my point. John Wick Chapter 4 is a masterpiece when it comes to action and building up to its franchise. With, if it is supposed to be a conclusion, which they haven't really mentioned that, but if they do decide to do more movies, then I'm all on board, because I was worried that there might be a next installment where it just went downhill from there. No. Each movie goes uphill, and this one just went far uphill. It's everything I wanted it to be. It's going to satisfy fans, and you don't really need to watch the first 3 to fully get the entire thing. I mean, you do, but most people just usually come for the action, and it doesn't disappoint with the action. It's everything I could have wanted it to be. Chad Stahelski did a fantastic job with this one, and the best thing about it is that John Wick isn't based off a comic book or a graphic novel or anything like that. It's something that someone created in their own mind and just decided to put it up on a big screen without taking from other things. While it definitely is inspired by stuff like video games, because I feel like I was watching like a Max Payne movie, like a good Max Payne film, not like the crappy Mark Wahlberg one, and other action games like third-person shooters and stuff. And I feel like if this really was based off a video game, which I know it isn't, though John Wick did have a game, I really hope we do see a John Wick game that actually feels a lot more like a third-person shooter. And and the coolest thing about the action is just that John he knows what he's up against, and he's pretty much a professional at this point. Like, he knows every strategy. He doesn't have to use stealth. I know I'm talking way too long, but I just feel like there was just so much that this movie got right that there was just too much for me to talk about. So I'm just gonna conclude it here and just say that you will definitely be pleased with this one. If you love the first three, then you're gonna love this one even more. It's by far the best film in the franchise. I had so much fun watching it. It really didn't feel like it dragged on, and when it almost did, it immediately put me back to the action. Go out and see this one right now. Get a big ass bucket of popcorn and just sit through this nearly 3 hour ride. It's more than worth it. You will thank me later. Probably one of the best action movies I've seen in a really long time, probably ever. I'm trying to think of a good way to end so I can give you my rating, but just watch it. Enough said. I honestly get more excited for these movies than I do with most modern superhero movies, and there haven't been that many great ones, like truly amazing ones, since Spider-Man No Way Home. Hopefully, Across the Spider-Verse will be great, because that's probably the one that I'm looking forward to the most right now. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Resident Evil 4 remake is coming out, so I'm sure it's going to be great. So great movie and a great game coming out the same day. Yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. Also, I'll be going to GalaxyCon this weekend, so I'll have a video on that. Alright, so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Word out.